So as a lot of people who have watched my channel for a while know, I routinely do short and long-term evaluations on RVs with the manufacturer. In front of me is an example of what we kind of consider to be a mid-length evaluation. We're going to have this for over a month, and during that period of time, I'm going to break down to you all what I love about the Brinkley Model I and things that I think they might be able to do better. Now, here's an important note. I am not an influencer for Brinkley. I am not a brand ambassador for Brinkley. I am not being sponsored by Brinkley. This is simply a collaboration where I select a manufacturer, we talk, we figure out exactly what type of model would be ideal, and then we execute on a long-term evaluation. And a long-term evaluation, again, is generally anything over a month. So this is kind of like a slightly long-term evaluation. But during that period of time, I am going to break down and examine and dissect the Brinkley Model I and give you my true and honest opinion on what this thing is all about. Now, for those of you who say, how on earth can you give an honest opinion on a product that was provided to you for review and evaluation? Well, the terms of the contract and the agreement that we actually signed dictate that I have full access and full capabilities of criticizing, complimenting, and just really breaking down what I believe to be true about these units. Now, I can't comment on any other model Brinkley. I can't say the Model Z or the Model G. I can't tell you what those are all about without doing a similar evaluation. That said, though, a lot of the things that a manufacturer might do on one model sometimes can be emulated on others. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they've done here. And the people who own Model Zs and Model Gs, you know, have you all chime in and see if these are things that you're also seeing on your own units as well. So we're not going to do a full tour of it right now. We'll do full interior and exterior reviews in future videos. And the reason for that is this video is probably going to run kind of long just talking about the reason why we went with Brinkley this time. So I ran a poll on my channel recently asking people to comment on what brand they felt we should do a long-term collaboration with. And Brinkley overwhelmingly won in terms of an actual brand that was outlined in the choices. Now, I believe the reason why people want to know about Brinkley is because you hear so much about them, right? All the YouTubers that produce content on tours and reviews, they all talk about Brinkley. But I feel that the way you need to break these down are actually in a usage type scenario where you're using one specifically to see what you like and don't like about it. A lot of times you go to a dealership to buy an RV and you've already kind of made the choice based on the floor plan. So you get it and you really don't know what might be different between it and perhaps another competing brand on the market. So with this, I'm going to talk about all of that while we have it. We're going to talk about the frame, we're going to talk about the suspension, we're going to talk about the use of materials, and I'm going to share my opinion on if I think what they've done is going to be sufficient enough to make this thing last longer than perhaps what most people would traditionally see as, you know, an RV they might look at. And in many cases, are Brinkley's worth the price? That's a big one people really want to know. If you can afford to spend the money, but you'd prefer not to, or you'd prefer to save a little bit of money, would it make more sense for you to kind of reevaluate that and say, you know what, Brinkley's where I want to spend my money? And that's another reason why we're going to talk about this as well. Now, as we kind of start and go down it, as you can see, there's no batteries. I doubt that there's going to be any propane inside of the tanks either, because this came to me directly from the Brinkley production line. It went through their normal tests, their normal PDI that they do there, but this did not hit a dealership first. And what that means is it bypassed an important step that a lot of consumers will actually experience. When you buy a Brinkley and you go to a dealership to do it, it's been inspected at the factory and they've gone through their own PDI, the shake test and all of that stuff. But by the time it's gotten to you, it's gone through another PDI or maybe even two additional PDIs. One from the company that purchased it. Sometimes they have their own PDI facilities that they send units through. And also when it hits the dealership, because they are supposed to do an inspection of the unit from the outside to the inside, taking a look at almost everything. So those two PDI steps didn't happen to this unit. This came from Brinkley directly to me. Now, what does that mean? That means that it got rained on, it is filthy, it needs a bath. It also means that anything that could have fallen apart, anything that it could have broken off, any damage that could have occurred in transport, because like I said, the hotshot driver literally brought it straight to me from Indiana, from the factory. So any problems that could have occurred during that 1,000-mile trip are going to be present, right? We didn't go inside of it to really walk around it, and I did that on purpose. So when he brought it to me, he had this check sheet with like 60 items that I was supposed to inspect. I was supposed to walk around the outside and the inside. I did a quick walk around the outside just to make sure there wasn't any damage to the unit, but All I did on the inside at this point was I connected power and I dropped the steps. I have not actually walked around inside of this unit or put the slides out yet because I wanted to do that with you all. We've loosened the top here. Yeah, both propane cans appear to be completely empty. So we'll have to fill up the propane in this unit. Actually, I have some propane cans that are full that we could use. No battery. The hotshot driver actually brought his own battery and battery box, and he disconnected it and took it with him when he left. Okay, so the battery that I've just installed is a 100 amp hour EcoFlow lithium iron phosphate battery. Charge controller in here is designed to be able to support lithium, so that is a good thing. And then we'll just get this strapped down in place. Okay, so we have our battery strapped down. Okay, so what we're gonna do next, now that we have the battery connected, before we put the slide out, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing connected and stabilized. That way we can move on to the next step. I wanna go through this and get this connected the way that most people would probably get it connected at an RV park, just so you can kind of see what they've done here, and maybe some areas that they might be able to improve a little bit, right? So, first of all, I love the fact that they have a wet bay here. I love the fact that this is a water control board that is very fifth wheel-like, but in a travel trailer. This is very rare. There are a few brands doing it, but Brinkley definitely is leading the way by putting a full fifth wheel type connection system on a travel trailer. Now, because of that though, it's going to place a lot of these components way up front on the RV. So if you have a pedestal that's way in the back of the RV, then you might have to use extension hoses in addition to this retractable hose that they give you right here. And I believe this thing's like a 50-foot retractable hose. So you have quite a bit of length and you should be able to reach most pedestals. But in most cases, you're probably going to have like an inline water filtration system and another hose. Plus you're going to have your pressure regulator, which will give you a little extra slack. But the way this works is simply flip this up. You're going to put this through here and then you're going to extend it to where your water connection is. So let's go ahead and get our water connected. Okay, so we have the water connected. What's cool about this is how easy it is to replace this or not even use it if you don't want to. This right here is your water inlet. This goes into the back here and they give you this really cool little slide away service panel, and this is the hose. So if you need to remove this or you simply want to bypass it and just put your own hose in, you can do that. You don't have to use this. That's pretty cool though that they give it to you. But again, if you, for some reason, break one of your connections at the end or you have a problem with it, you can easily bypass it and just go straight into the city water connection right there. Okay, so something else that they've done in here is they've given you your stabilizer controls here. They're electric stabilizers. They are right here and then also at the very back. So if we want to go ahead and extend them, we can. Right before they hit the ground, I'm going to put some rubber pads underneath them just so they're not resting directly on the ground. So we'll stop right there, and then I'll also extend the ones in the back, which we should be able to see coming down here shortly. There they are. And again, we'll stop these right before they get to the ground so we know the spacing to put the rubber pads underneath them. This would actually be a pretty cool area to go ahead and just have rubber pads mounted to the bottom of those feet, just so you don't put as much wear and tear on the steel when it makes contact with the ground. Especially if it's on rocky ground or caliche or stones like that that could not make them as stable as they should be. That one just needed a little encouragement. Okay, so these aren't designed to level the RV. These are designed to stabilize the RV. So we'll extend the front one. Okay, so now we're stabilized and we should be in good shape so we can go ahead and get in and this thing's not going to move back and forth very much. But I do love this. Now, something else I didn't mention when I connected it, I think Brinkley is a premium enough brand that they could go to simply the plug-in style connector versus this twist lock connector from SmartPlug, because it's a safer connection and it's going to last longer and it's going to be a more positive connection, just to avoid any potential chance, or at least to reduce the risk that you're going to have any type of a short or any metal contact in here that could create excessive heat. This isn't really one of those must-have areas, it's just a like-to-have, and especially with the Brinkley name being as premium as it is, it would be a really cool thing to see on their RVs. Back at the water control panel, we're going to go ahead and switch this to city water, and you can see all the other options you have there for dry camping, power fill tank, winterization, as well as siphoning. We're also going to close this up just to avoid any little furry critters getting in here or help reduce it. Nice thick baggage doors and really, really nice slam latches. Over here we have our water pressure regulator, and we have the water going to the Brinkley right here. Now I have my sewer hose laid out, but we don't have it connected yet. That'll be connected probably last. From inside the campsite storage, we are going to turn on power to the unit. So they have 12-volt switched power. If you turn this off, it disconnects everything but the refrigerator, solar, and jacks. So we'll turn that on. And then we have solar power right here, and that's going to be from the batteries, or from the panel to the batteries. And then we have storage mode disconnect right here, which is currently on. So that disconnects everything if you're going to have this in storage. I like that they put a pass-through right here as well, and they put a hot-cold water connection right there. Something else that's really cool is the fact that they use these steps. These are actually manufactured by Suburban. I had never seen these things before until the Hershey RV show. They are very similar to some of the other flip-up steps you see, other than the fact that they are much, much lighter, and they also are a lot easier to adjust because let's say you're out of adjustment. I'll lift this up to kind of show you. When you get it down where you want, all you do is pull the leg down. You don't have to pull a pin out or anything like that. Very, very simple to get in place because of the way it ratchets down whenever you are trying to level it. I love the fact they put a little sweeper here at the bottom of the door also. And this door is loaded with Lippert features, but again, we'll go over that in another video. All right, so we'll turn on the lights. Very nice. I hear the fridge running already. Let's go and push the slide out now that we have the unit stabilized. Rack and pinion slide out mechanism, which is what I like. Mainly because I feel it's more reliable and it puts the weight of the slide on the frame, not on the sidewall, like you traditionally see with like Schwinn-Tech or cable-driven slides. There we go. Let's go ahead and extend our awning. While we're doing that, I'm going to turn the awning light on, make sure it works. Oh, I like how that's a continuous LED light. It's not the broken up LED lights. Don't need to keep the awning lights on though. And it is deployed. All right, so we now have the unit pretty much connected other than sewer. We're going to get all of the RV antifreeze winterization chemicals out of it. It's a nice sink. While the sinks are going, I'm going to open up these window shades. So these have the blackout shades and not the lighter shade. So you only have the top portion, not the bottom portion on these windows, which is totally fine. Microwave is on, and this is a convection microwave. That's really nice. I love that copper colored sink. That looks really nice. And an example of what I was talking about earlier, how this thing came straight from Brinkley. See a little bit of sawdust, right? And that probably came from maybe behind a mirror or some other area. But again, this is just something you're going to see. The dealership is going to vacuum this stuff out. And this is an area that all RVs are going to experience because sometimes sawdust collects in different areas. But this right here is just something you'll never typically see as a customer because it's all vacuumed out when it gets to a dealer. And again, keep in mind, I am not going to hide anything from you all in this. So whatever I see is what I see. And I'm going to share with you everything I love about the Brinkley unit and things that I might not like as much. Next one is going to be the shower. It doesn't have the multi-head sprayer, but it does have a wand over here, which is nice. And it has a really nice shower head up top. And before I turn that on, I'm going to turn that away. Still trying to get some of that RV antifreeze out of here. I have an area where it's loose. Okay, so check this out. So that needs to be tightened. Okay, so after further investigating this, they actually didn't put the rubber O-ring on right here, and it wasn't able to seat in here properly and make a seal. So that's the first little missing item. Again, this is something hopefully during PDI at the dealership they would have caught, but this is something super minor. If this were me receiving the RV as an owner, I would simply not use the sprayer until I had a chance to go to Lowe's and pick up a little rubber O-ring for, 5 cents. But you know, you could call them and I'm sure they would mail you one, which some people might do. But again, this is just an area where whenever, you know, they were putting this together at the factory, this might have swung and hit something on the factory floor and the little rubber O-ring just popped off of it. But we're going to go ahead and put an O-ring on it right now because I happen to have a whole box of them, and we'll get this seated back in place. There we go, O-ring in place. Nothing leaking there anymore. Super simple fix. And for this area right here, it's as simple as wiping or vacuuming it up. Time to clear out the toilet. There we go. This is a porcelain foot flush toilet, which is also really nice. I love the soft closing lid. That's nice, and that's something you don't see on a lot of RVs. You see them on some, just not too many. Okay, we're moving along into the bedroom. I love the fact that they have dimmers here as well. That's really nice. All right, so from the bedroom, you have these kind of interesting split windows here. Let me see how that works. It opens like that. This one opens up top, so you can peek out if you want to, or you can open it up all the way. You have a huge, huge front window over here, which also has a pull-down screen as well, so you can black this out at night in case you want to sleep in. You don't want a bunch of light flooding in. Then you have your emergency escape right here. So you simply pop that up, push your window out like that, and you are good to make the jump. Very nice. All right. Then you have your little on-off buttons over there. Again, a little bit of sawdust right here. Not much, honestly. Most RVs I've walked through whenever they get delivered straight from a factory have tons of sawdust in them. This one has a little bit collected in some areas. And again, it's just where it gets kind of tucked up under stuff where you just don't have access to it. So this isn't bad at all. This would probably be in the top 1% of RVs in terms of how it's arrived from a long trip on the road with no after trip PDI. Especially the living room, there's nothing in here. There is no sawdust anywhere. Let's see if there's any on this cool little pull-out desk they have. No sawdust on here at all. That is really nice. We'll feature this a little bit more during the full tour. So what do you guys think? This thing's pretty cool, right? We have this thing completely set up aside from sewer connection, which I can do that off camera. We're probably going to take it on a quick trip, to be honest with you. So probably just going to have to disconnect everything anyways. So we might just leave that one off for now. But check it out. This is a really, really cool collaboration. Super, super excited to be doing this and sharing with you all, the viewers, my honest impression of Brinkley Model I from a long-term, not a dealership parking lot, not an RV show, but from a long-term, straight from the factory perspective to let you know what I like about it. What's really cool is the hotshot delivery guy who delivers for all sorts of different brands, probably delivers thousands of these things every single year, mainly because of all the RV shows and all the moving around they have to do, said that these are absolutely a breeze to tow. These are really, really great, and he's never run into an issue with the Brinkley arriving at a dealership with things falling apart or breaking. So that is really cool, and that's a true testimony from someone who would know. Anyways, really, really cool. What do you guys think? This is gonna be a fun collaboration. Again, we're gonna have this for over a month, so we'll be able to put some good usage on it, and we'll be able to specifically see if Brinkley is everything everyone says it is. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment and subscribe. Now's a great time to subscribe so you can see all the content we're gonna do on this brand new Brinkley Model I 275. Guys, we'll talk to you again real soon.